Ever since Destiny released back in 2014, it seems like every major video game publisher has been trying to make the next great looter shooter. While some have had success and carved out their own niche, the most have failed spectacularly, like Anthem and Marvel's Avengers. Unlike the latter two games, Outriders is a looter shooter that ditches most of the multiplayer-focused hooks in favor of solid gameplay, a decent story,
let's dance, motherfucker,
and most importantly, tries to do something a little different without pushing the envelope too far. Ever since I got the chance to preview Outriders at a precedent last year, I've speculated on if this game could eventually become the next big thing. While my expectations have tempered a bit since release, I still think that Outriders definitely has what it takes to be the next major looter shooter alongside Destiny and Warframe. But unlike those two, Outriders is a bit more Diablo than Destiny. Combat in Outriders feels like you're directing an action movie instead of just waiting for a cooldown to end so you can do another high DPS attack. It's a looter shooter at its core, but unlike the other titles in the genre, Outriders rewards you for playing aggressively and getting close to your enemies. As a longtime Destiny player, I've become so used to standing behind rocks and slowly picking away at tougher enemies. So when I started playing Outriders like that, I quickly learned that not only was it an easy way to die quickly, it was actually more fun to get into more risky situations and aggressively power through enemy hordes. While some enemy types, the ones with names, were a pain to fight within arm's reach, it was extremely satisfying taking out an entire group of baddies with one slash of energy and a few shotgun blasts. The bigger enemies can be bullet sponges at times, and with the lack of respawn in single player, it can be frustrating at first when your health bar gets melted down a few seconds by just one guy. Seriously, they really need to add a respawn into this game. It's in multiplayer, but it's not in single player, and honestly, there's a few times where it's like, great, I died, now I have to do this all over again. That being said, after I lowered the world level a bit and figured out how to effectively chain my attacks and loadouts, I found myself having a blast and not sweating the tougher segments. The freedom to modify my weapons to suit my playstyle preferences really sets the game's looter gameplay loop apart from the standard RNG exotic weapon chase in other titles. This truly shines when you play the game cooperatively with other players online and start chaining different class abilities together to cause maximum damage. If you're a fan of the chaos from the recent Doom games, you're probably going to enjoy this. At the time of this review, online gameplay in Outriders is a bit of a mixed bag. While it's extremely fun to chain abilities with people playing other classes, the lows are just as impactful as the highs. I found myself having trouble connecting to any game online whatsoever outside of playing with people I know, and half the time that didn't even work. The random team feature still needs a lot of work since I spent more time getting booted from games or spawning too far away from my teammates than I should have. It's clear that Outriders is meant to be played solo or with people on your friends list instead of randoms online. But that still shouldn't mean that it sometimes felt like pulling teeth when trying to connect and interact with a team of strangers. Looking at someone else's loadout isn't as intuitive whatsoever, and I'm still not sure if party chat is even a thing, which is a huge pain when you're trying to play a cooperative game like this. And the game's studio, People Can Fly, has been very transparent about the game's online flaws, so hopefully this is something that gets fixed sooner than later. Technicals aside though, the online play in Outriders is some of the most fun I've had in a looter shooter in quite some time. Enemies that were difficult solo are a breeze with teammates, even with the world level raised. It's very satisfying landing an asynchronous combination of class abilities, and quite frankly, it's kind of worth the headache of getting into an online multiplayer game in the first place. So if you got patience, totally do it. Gear and loadouts is about what you would expect from a game like this. You have a wide range of shotguns, rifles, pistols, and the standard blue, green, purple, and gold weapon tier. What makes Outriders a bit more engaging than other similar titles is the ability to add a number of modifiers to any weapon in its ability slot. You don't like 3-shot burst? That's fine, go full auto. You want guns that can heal yourself? Easy, just add it in. These range from DPS modifiers to debuffs and even the ability to regenerate health with each shot. You also level up as you go along and get the chance to level a skill tree for your character class, which is pretty standard at this point. This is the standard damage and health buffs you've seen a million times before, but it still gives Outriders just that much more personal feel to it, which ultimately not only makes the game more engaging to play, but just plain fun. The story in Outriders isn't going to win any awards anytime soon, but that's not to say that it doesn't do a good job at keeping me engaged and interested in the world that developer People May Fly has crafted. You start out as the first group of humans to touch down on a new planet while helping humanity relocate from a ruined Earth. You're known as an Outrider, and quickly things go south and you end up in cryo sleep. Fast forward 30 years, you wake up in a world that feels like Mad Max in space, and you also get powers from the Anomaly. Then you go solve everyone's problems one bullet at a time. Been there, done that.
You need rescuing.
Hey, what is it? Who's there?
How am I supposed to know they're fucking altered in my face? Do I look like I need rescuing?
Hold on. I'll destroy anyone who gets close.
Oh, yeah, sure. Just as soon as you get your pants up from your goddamn ankles.
It's very much a B movie at its core. So if you keep that in mind, you'll enjoy it significantly more. Nice rhyme there. The cinematography in the game's cutscenes is pretty good, and the acting never felt stiff or like anyone just running their lines, even though some of them were your standard sci-fi tropes.
Together, we shall fuck them up!
The one thing I couldn't get over though was the constant shift in aspect ratios in the game's cutscenes. It would go from 16:9 to 2:1 to 2:40 non-stop. While I appreciate a hyper-stylized look, this kind of bothered me more than it should, and I'm sure I'm like the only person that's complaining about this, so take that with a grain of salt. And composer Einon Zur, I'm sure I messed that one up, deserves a lot of praise for Outriders' score. The music helped pick up the pace when the dialogue just wasn't doing it for me, and it really helped me escape into the world of Outriders. Needless to say, the story in the game isn't so bad whatsoever, it's just probably not going to stay with you much longer after it's over.
Leave the truck again, and I'll weld you to the wheel.
It's not often a game comes around that can not only live up to expectations, but in many ways completely surpass them. While the game currently has some issues with online play, and the writing isn't going to raise the bar in game storytelling anytime soon, Outriders' forward-thinking gameplay loop, deep level of customization, and general emphasis on fun combat really sets itself apart from everything else right now in the looter shooter and action RPG genres. Outriders is a fun experience that you can easily sink hundreds of hours into without worrying about the bloat and unintuitiveness of a live service. And quite frankly, if this is just the start, I can't wait to see where it goes. So with that, we give Outriders an 8.5 out of 10.